Welcome. I'm Trevor Drew, Knowledge Manager here at University of South Carolina. I'd like to share with you our knowledge management journey in higher ed and how we've accomplished what seems to be the impossible, 10 times growth in just over 18 months. So what does a knowledge management journey even mean? Or more importantly, what is knowledge management? Why care about that? How did we actually achieve 10 times growth over the past 18 months? And the remaining question, is knowledge management different in higher education environments? So before we answer that, a little bit about our institution. So the University of South Carolina system has 8 campuses all across the state of South Carolina. USC Columbia, our flagship campus, is by far our largest, founded in 1801 and has over 32,000 students on the campus, studying in 300 varying degree programs. We also have comprehensive institutions across our state that offer 4-year degree programs. And we also have Palmetto College campuses that offer associate degrees in online education. Our total population across the university system has over 48,000 students studying at the University of South Carolina from 98 different countries as of fall 2019. We also have over 43,000 faculty and staff members who work and serve at University of South Carolina. We also have over 250,000 alumni who have attended the University of South Carolina. So jumping into knowledge management, what exactly is it? So the best way I would say to sum up knowledge management is that it's getting the right information to the right people at the right time. So you might be thinking, well, this kind of sounds like what I strive to do every day. So why formalize that? So some common reasons that knowledge management might be formalized in your organization: drive workflows, improve business processes, competitive advantages. Those are all great, but really one of the best reasons to formalize knowledge management is to utilize company information as an asset and not necessarily a liability. So changing gears real quick. So one of the areas where we found knowledge management being successful as part of a formalized effort is every year when we have our back to school rush. This is really our busy season. Students are going back to class, they're getting settled in residence halls. This is really our overall peak customer volume. But behind the scenes, there's lots of work going on. We're doing work here at IT to allow customers to self-serve where possible. So we don't always have to have a contact to our service desk whenever it's possible. So we have tools available for our students and our university body as a whole, like our self-service portal, which incorporates a knowledge base that we can use to then deflect customer calls to our service desk, and then also provide a means of self-serving, whether that means you're able to read our knowledge base or you're just able to submit a ticket with us. We're offering more options than ever for you to be able to do that. So in 2019 was by far our overall peak with customer volume. So looking at the data here, we logged over 2,200 contacts to our service desk during the month of August. Just in 1 week even, we had 2,200 during the middle week and lots more throughout the month. But during that first move-in week, we were able to deflect over 450 unique visitors by using the knowledge base. And we're able to do this by establishing what they call a cost per contact figure. So this will be different depending on the type of organization you're in. But for us, just as an example, looking at over 450 unique deflections times the average cost per contact of $18, we were able to save over $8,000 in just that first move-in week alone. And during the month of August, we had over 21,000 visits to our knowledge base here at the University of South Carolina. This is over 7 times from the amount that we had in August 2018, and over 21 times from August 2017. So how does that translate into growth? Let's begin by going through our knowledge management journey. The experience is all in the journey, not the destination. Keep that in mind as we're going through our knowledge management journey. So with our humble beginnings, knowledge and sharing of knowledge has always been a part of our support process and how we do work. Early on, we had our very first knowledge base was locally hosted on a web server, and we had many links to documents that were all scattered throughout. It was very ad hoc, so to say. But our initiative actually came from the service desk, and it was owned and maintained by those service desk agents. Jumping to 2012, 2012 was when we first had our first formal knowledge management effort. We had one knowledge manager who was also playing double duty and assisting in IT training throughout the university. A lot of it was still ad hoc and not very integrated with the IT business. Around 2012, we also began exploring how ServiceNow could be utilized for our knowledge management needs specifically. How we got to ServiceNow was back in 2011, we were looking for a ticketing system to be able to track incidents. But why incidents? Well, that's where we started. It's where we saw immediate value. It lives with our service desk due to the frontline nature of their work. So really, it was about where are we seeing value? We need to be able to put out fires, right? So why not ServiceNow? Well, it could do so much more than that, but our immediate value was with incidents. Jumping forward from that, our knowledge management journey continues well into 2014 as we adopted knowledge in ServiceNow in 2014. This was also one of our first turning points with the knowledge management journey. We began to utilize something called knowledge-centered services, or KCS. Older versions you may be more familiar with as knowledge-centered support. But it's also, we found a lot of value with KCS because it was very natural with how the information was flowing into our organization. That sort of capture, structure, reuse, and improve model was very natural with how our information was coming into our service desk. And being able to recognize knowledge as something tangible, as an asset, in a support capacity allowed for a tremendous amount of buy-in from our leadership. Additionally, we also began to see some great value with Knowledge Management V3, which was part of the Fuji release for ServiceNow. So while all of that was going on, we also were doing another journey within our own IT service management. 2015 was the year we established IT service management. And really, we asked ourselves three questions, just like with our knowledge management journey. What were some of the best practices that are out there? What are other people doing? And how do we get there? How do we move to these best practices? So a lot of that was identifying what those processes were. So as we mentioned, we have starting with incident management. That's where we saw our immediate value. And then you can see in 2017, there's a big spike as we began to truly shape IT service management. Continual service improvement, problem management, demand management. All these things stood up over the past few years. And even looking forward into some of our current efforts like CMDB and resource management. Shifting back over to knowledge management though, in 2017, we had several IT processes that were completely overhauled, such as incident and knowledge. And we also did something else for the very first time. We Z-booted our instance of ServiceNow. We had applied many customizations to our instance, and we were unable to effectively keep up with all of ServiceNow's offerings. As part of this Z-boot, we also reset our knowledge base and archived thousands of outdated documents. So jumping to another critical turning point with our knowledge management journey, in 2017, we enabled multi-factor authentication for our user accounts. This impacted everyone, but thankfully, we had prepared a couple of knowledge articles specifically to aid our service desk. But what we found was that in sharing the knowledge with our service desk, this grew much more than to our service desk. Our customers were using knowledge. They were using the knowledge articles in order to self-serve and avoid having to wait for those long queues. And we were able to truly self-serve with our customers. So from this go live date, with just 2 KB articles, we had 184 unique people visiting across both of those articles. And we actually started to, for the first time, use some metrics to sort of, come up with a deflection rate. So from those 2 knowledge articles, we had 91 deflections. And using our cost per contact figure we mentioned earlier, we saved about $2,300 or around 9.5 hours of talk time. So that's a whole day for a desk agent, 9.5 hours. Looking back on what the actual metrics were for our service desk, around 500 calls just from that one day with an average talk time of over 6 minutes. So do the math. If you have 184 people and we were able to deflect 91, that's a lot of talking we saved, both for our customers and for our desk agents. So having this in mind, we took a look further into some of the data. And we found that over half of our customers, half of them who were using the knowledge base, they were able to solve their issue without any further help from IT. This is truly one of the first times where we had started actually self-serving our customers rather than just giving them a landing page. Customers were solved. They were solving their issues and they were feeling empowered because only 16% of customers who were reading the knowledge articles actually ended up putting in a ticket. So with this in mind, we actually formalized some of these metrics that we were gathering from this go live experience. In 2018, we introduced a brand new KPI, our service desk deflection rate. So we were comparing call data that was coming into the service desk with the visitors from our knowledge base and taking a look at those two sets of data and finding out, okay, so we did have someone who called our service desk. They also used the knowledge base 3 times. So we have some work to do on the knowledge end to improve that experience for the customer. Additionally, we also found some subject matter experts, and we were able to work with those subject matter experts and build the relationships. We identified them as key knowledge contributors. There are people who worked lots of different either tickets, or they had vast amounts of knowledge documented in other systems, maybe also like a local server or something on Google Docs that they were using. We were able to bring them on board and sell knowledge management to them and get them to contribute and having knowledge all in a central place. Our goal of having just one place to go for all things knowledge related. Most importantly, we also redesigned our website for IT to begin incorporating knowledge assets. So rather than having to do duplicate work, where we would post something in our knowledge base and then either copy it over into the website, we started using the website to link back to the ServiceNow knowledge base. So rather than having to duplicate work, we can just again have one central place to go. Now that we've done some of the basic work, the foundation laying, if you will, we can now watch it grow. And boy, did it grow. We had our hyper growth in 2019 with our largest student class ever of over 6,000 freshmen. The number of service desk interactions also went down during this time, but we also crossed a very important threshold of over 100,000 people visiting our knowledge base for the year of 2019. We reached that in September. So we still had all of October, November, and December to go to further bump up that threshold. 100,000 in just 2 years would have been completely unheard of back in 2017. And we had 10 times the use compared to the time range in 2018, where we only had about 20,000 people visiting. We've also improved that deflection rate we mentioned earlier. We went up 10% over since 2018. So we had 79% of our articles actually deflecting. We were self-serving during the month of August compared to that 70% in 2018. So looking at the data since 2017, we can see that, yes, we've had 21 times the amount of involvement since 2017 and over 10 times that from 2018. We've also had knowledge be important as part of an ERP go live where we switched the systems and we're extensively using knowledge to be able to self-serve with our customers. So you may be thinking, how does that equate to something actually being 10 times the growth? Well, growth isn't always linear. Sometimes it can be a bit more like a curved line rather than just going in a straight constant. And sometimes growing can be painful, but it doesn't have to be. You know, no one person is an island. So building those relationships has proved to be very foundational for the success of our knowledge management program. So down here at the bottom, some IDLE experts may be familiar with the sort of data, information, knowledge, wisdom model. So having data being the start, really that's where all the decisions are being, are starting to be made. You may hear the phrase data-driven decision making. It's because that's something people can see. It's something tangible. It's not theoretical like knowledge or wisdom where you may not necessarily see it applied day to day. But data is that starting point. It's kind of rare for a company or an organization to reach true wisdom. So the expectation versus the reality. So where we have the constant we mentioned before with data, information, knowledge, wisdom, and having the time with a knowledge management program may not always be linear. It could feel like you're going backwards in time a bit, even though you're actually moving forward. Sometimes it's necessary to take those steps in order to understand the larger picture at hand. So a bit about our future. What does the future of knowledge management look like at University of South Carolina? Well, to start, Our total volume for all things knowledge is projected to grow 10% or more each year. We've also begun expanding knowledge management beyond the division of IT and applying that throughout the entire university system with other departments and even other campuses, rather than just the flagship here at Columbia. We've also started looking towards ServiceNow customer service management, virtual agent, and advanced work assignment features for our agents' workflow. Utilizing KCS, having a consistent and streamlined workflow for our agents will be critical to the success for knowledge management. And having those customer service management features will prove to be very effective for our agents. And we've also begun starting to sort of find balance between our business processes and customer experience. So how a business process can translate to customer satisfaction or meeting the demands that are required as part of a customer experience. So now we'll get into some of the challenges and a little bit about the higher ed environment. So as we're going through this, keep in mind, what's in it for me? Why should I get involved? So a bit about the higher ed environment, and one thing that's really, I find special about what we do here in higher education is that we're all connected to the greater mission of education and educating our communities. So whether that is students who receive that education or faculty and even staff who are also educating each other, we're all connected to this mission of education. And that is what drives us to do what we do. Things that we may have heard, so, and it may not be totally special here at USC, such as, we're special. This department, there's no one else who does anything like what we do. And this is the way we've always done it. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that no two environments are necessarily the same, even within higher ed. So something that could work in our particular environment may not translate always well to you. Some of the challenges we faced. So making knowledge how the work gets done rather than being a byproduct of work. So we're wrapping up a project or we've got to go live and everything is done, but where's the documentation? How are we going to share the knowledge with people? It's always been historically, oh, I'll do this after, or we don't need to do this right away. But making it how the work gets done is paramount. And selling that, getting that what's in it for me so that we avoid issues later down the road. A particular challenge, and I think this is common across knowledge management anywhere, is getting that buy-in. How do you get the leadership to understand what it is you're selling? How do you make it real? How do you make it tangible? Additionally, people may not always be excited about knowledge management as much as you think. It's very easy to, when you see the light at the end of the tunnel, where it's totally exciting, hey, this is going to be worth it, but hang on a second. Always remember to ask, what's in it for me? Curb your enthusiasm a bit. So a few lessons we've learned along the way. Setting realistic expectations is paramount. Always remember to be asking, what's in it for me? That's how you're going to get the most value from a knowledge management program. Falling into the classic trap is all too easy. ServiceNow is a fantastic platform, but it's meant to drive your existing processes. Relying too much on the technology can undersell knowledge management throughout your company or institution. It's always about the process and the people and building those relationships. Solely depending on tech will not be successful. And lastly, knowledge management is a journey. It's not necessarily a destination that you get to 5 or 10 years down the road. Knowledge is always going to be evolving throughout your company or organization. It's a journey. The time to start is now, and then to reap the rewards later. So if you're wondering where to start, we here at University of South Carolina have found success with tapping into your highest influx of incoming information. Also looking at process champions who are in the organization. So for us, this was our service desk along with our incident and change managers. But if you're thinking of also reaching out to your service desk, this could be totally dependent on your organization. The service desk might not be the best fit to start knowledge management. It could be a person, it could be a whole group of people, it could even be a department. It really depends on your organization. Thank you so much for going along this journey with me. I'd love to continue the conversation offline. Please feel free to reach out to me either by email or LinkedIn. We can chat more about some of the things that weren't covered in this slide, or even just about ServiceNow. Thank you.